How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames. And today is a deck profile I think a lot of people have been looking forward to, and that is my deck profile for my yellow Piccolo. And by yellow Piccolo, I don't mean the new movie Piccolo, the new movie Piccolo second lead or anything. I mean the OG yellow Piccolo, the one that came in set 17, the one that's all based from the Cell Saga around Namekians. And this is one that I've really liked, I really enjoyed, because when it came out, I was really hyped for it because it looked like a generic. It is a generically good Piccolo leader. Like, the only issue with the lead, really, in my eyes, is it depends on what Namekian stuff we have. Because it's mainly around yellow and green Namekians, so you can have a mix of two colors, mix of just yellow, or just go for green with yellow leader. And it's just a really nice thing. It's just a really nice lead, nice generic one for Namekians. Like, we haven't had a generically good Piccolo leader for a while, and we've got the new. Well, after this, we had the two yellow Piccolos being focused on the movie one, and this one is just one of my favorites because Piccolo is one of my favorite characters, one of my top 5 characters from the whole of the Dragon Ball franchise. And it's just nice to get a generically good leader for him. Because if you don't know what he does, we will go over it for a little bit. So we'll go over each different piece of the combo, or of the deck. And also, as well as that, go over the reasons for why the cards are in there. But some of them will be quite simple why it's in there. Some of them might take a little bit of an explanation. But most of it is quite simple. And it's nothing massive, this list. It's just generic good stuff with some very good yellow cards, because that's one thing with yellow. Yellow has been like that for a good while, I think most of the game really. It's just been like a good dot deck thing, like a good stuff dot deck. And yellow Namekians actually has some quite interesting stuff, while also some stuff people might not like, but this is just how I built the deck. So before I get into the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Liking the video lets me know that you enjoy my content, like how I do it, and the content within it. And also by commenting, I can answer any questions I might not cover, or if you have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to comment down below. Because like anybody, I haven't thought of everything, or I might have missed something, or by me more focused on certain things than others, that I might have missed some kind of tech choices or different ways to play it, which I do appreciate if you comment down below. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel, keep up to date with all my content as when it comes out, and help me get to my goal of 1,000 subs to help me become a Dragon Ball man. As you'll understand if you go and check out my 500 giveaway, which is a few videos back. But without further ado, let's get into the video and check out this leader. So, well, the deck, but we'll check out the leader first. So, as I said, this is from set 17, the yellow Piccolo. For yellow in this set, it was focused on the Cell Saga, but no Cell, just on 2Z. It was mostly on the Z fighters for yellow, and it was one that was yellow Goku in the Yadrat costume, and then one for Piccolo, like when he teamed up with Kami and Full Cell. So no Cell, just focus on those things of it. And for the yellow Piccolo part of the color, it mainly had split across not just yellow, but also across green as well to cover all the some Namekian stuff. Mainly a lot of Piccolo, like Nail, then there's stuff like Kami, little Piccolo stuff because it's revolved around Namekians. And what I mean by that is something you'll understand as we go over the leader. So on the front side of the leader, before he flips over into his full fuse with Kami form, is just Piccolo. And it also has a cost where you place one Namekian card from your hand under this card. So the cost, and the same thing for the cost and also on the other side, is to grab a Namekian, place it underneath it, fulfill that, then trigger the effect. So once you pay that cost, put a Namekian under it, the effect goes when this card attacks, you draw a card, so you replace it straight from your hand with your card, and now you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and top 5 cards of your deck, add up to one green or yellow Namekian card among them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So you kind of get a little bit plus from it. You are losing a card from your hand and putting Namekian in your lead, but you straight up replace that by drawing a card, and then you get the search of looking at top 5 for any green or yellow Namekian. And there's some very good Namekians as well in yellow and green. They mostly started off with Namekians in green, but they've slowly been going over into yellow, and it's nice to have some yellow Namekian stuff. And some of the best yellow Namekian stuff are some of the best things in yellow, which we'll see in a little sec. But then it's got an Awaken, which is a very nice one. Very good Awakening condition, because it's got a normal one and an alternative one built in. So it's when your life is 4 or less, or there are 2 or more cards under this card is the requirement. So that's very easy to pull off the 2 attacks. You may draw one card, switch up to one of your energies active mode, and then add cards from your life to your hand until you have 5 left, and flip this card over. So it takes you straight down to 5 life, which is great because then you are straight away within range to use one of your token negates that every colour has. So straight away stop an attack, bring out a token that can block to stop potentially 2 attacks, and also then put yourself straight under 4 for your super combos to be live. Or even then, if you want to run the Guru super combo that came out in the 3rd theme booster, Clash of Fates, that's a super combo for yellow. That is a Namekian, so it's searchable off the lead, and also allows you to have that live when you're at 5 or less life. So you have that some really strong use options and great tech with this, and it already starting to sound amazing, I bet. And then once you do flip that over, you now are Piccolo Supreme Power because he is that Supreme Boy. And you have a permanent now, where when you're placing battle cards under other cards that pay skill cost for Namekian Union Absorb skills, which is one like the little main things, like kind of mechanic it had for set 17 for this deck, you can use cards from under this card instead. So basically, in layman's terms, if you use a Union Absorb skill on one of your Namekian battle cards, you can take a card. You can add a card that you need to add from your hand or board underneath it from your lead instead. So it saves you losing advantage from any place. Just take it from your leader since you're just stacking them up under there anyway. And now the altar has changed a little bit. It does still have the cost of place 1 Namekian card from your hand and then discard as the cost for it. But now it's just when it attacks, you draw 2. So you're literally just placing a Namekian from under your hand when you attack to draw 2 cards, which is great and is a good reason why this deck just draws tons through. And it did help me, as if you saw the stream, helps again a little bit against Janemba, where if you don't pay the cost, you don't fulfill the effect. So if I didn't want to avoid myself decking out, which I was doing, I could swing and not put a card underneath as the cost, so I won't fulfill the draw 2, so you could avoid drawing cards and still get the swing, unlike most leaders, which when they swing, they have to draw because it's built in as part of the effect and there's no cost. So that's one little benefit there. And then it's got a new effect, which is an activate battle, which is once per turn, where you place 1 card from this card in its drop area as the cost, and then the effect is this card gains 5k power for the battle. So that's really nice. Just be able to use one of the cards. You might be wondering after seeing the front side about what is the purpose of putting cards underneath it. Like, what is the point of that? Well, once you awaken, you get uses of that in either being able to use them as costs for your Union Absorb skills to avoid using a card from your hand or board, or using it as a 5k offensively to do a bit more damage with the lead, or defensively to defend out of an attack a little bit easier. So as the leader, very generic, focus on Namekians, and for good reason, because Namekians are pretty sick. So with that out of the way, we'll go through the list that I played. Let's go over it. So we'll start off with the Namekian stuff first, like I normally try to do. I need to keep it themed with the list. So first one, we'll go for the first one. So first is like a kind of like a combination. So we got Lord Slug, Evil Invader, 1-drop, three copies of it, and then Lord Slug, Super Namekian. So I did say before that one of the yellow like Namekian cards are like one of the best in the game, and that is the Slug package. And we play 3 of the 1-drop and 4 of the 3-drop because you don't really need too many. You don't really need a full place at the 3-drop, because one of the best things about this is if you've got a nice little extra card, which we'll see in a bit, that allows you to search for most of your little 1 or 2-drop Namekians from the deck, and also builds up to some ever good, like good generic cards in yellow. And also this little 1-drop can be played off the 3-drop, which we'll get into a sec. So with the 1-drop, it is a cantrip. If you don't know what a cantrip is, it's a card that replaces itself on play. So Lord Slug Invader, when it's played, it's got an auto. When it's played, you draw a card, and it helps you cheat in the 3-drop with its activate main. So it's once per turn. By paying 1 yellow, you choose 1 of 2 effects, and the main one you're going to be choosing is the first one, where you choose up to 1 Slug's Army card with an individual energy cost of 3 or less from your hand. Play it and then place this card in its own drop. So you're mainly using this to pay that 1, play out this Lord Slug, and then send the 1-drop to the drop. And the other effect that you could use that you're not often going to use or rarely ever going to use is choosing up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and switch to rest mode. Never really going to use that. It's normally going to be used to play it as a cantrip and then play out this 3-drop Slug. And this 3-drop Slug is amazing just because of its effect. Now it does require to have more cards on board, but we're going to be playing a lot of cards with barrier and keeping things so they're like got a little protection. They keep them around on board long enough to stay with Slug to help Slug fulfill its effect. So it's got unique and barrier. So barrier is a very nice keyword skill. Because it's such a good keyword skill actually that a lot of decks are getting barrier removal that is quite cheap to deal with things like this. But he's got a nice permanent where Bond 2, it requires you to have 2 battle cards on board, and one includes itself as one of them, so never card on board with it. When this card is in rest mode, your opponent can add cards from their deck to their hand using non-leader card skills. So that means outside of the leader, if they want to use cantrips while this card's in rest mode and never battle card on your board, they cannot draw from that effect, or they can't add it. And if there's a cost, like in Union Fusion kind of cost that has the draw as part of the cost, they can't perform that action because they can't draw because it's part of the cost. Remember, if you can't pay cost, you can't fulfill the effect. And the way it can cheat out by having multiple copies of these in your hand to get the 1-drop out is through its activate main, which is by paying 1 yellow, and if your leader is yellow or a Slug's Army card and you discard this card from your hand as the cost, you play up to 1 Slug's Army card with entry cost of 1 from your deck to shuffle your deck. Now this is a fantastic card because in this to just get out this slug, so you can, if you got two of these 3-drops in hand, you can have easy access straight from your deck of that 1-drop, then play out this 3-drop. And as well as that, it's just a great card that is very good for just generic yellow decks. For any deck that can, as playing yellow, that can get this out as well. Doesn't have to have a yellow leader for the permanent, and also really nice with that new slug deck as well. So that's why we play 4 copies of this, because you can just want to see it so you can drop it as quick as possible to just stop your opponent from drawing too much. And also because if you've got more copies in your hand, you can turn one of them into the 1-drop straight from your deck. Deck thinning is deck winning, as you know in this deck there's a ton of it. So that's the first 2 cards, and then the next cards we got are the two different 1-drops that come in the same set, which is Piccolo Fusion Resolve and Piccolo Ready to Fuse. So with these 2 cards, they kind of have similar Union Absorb effects, but they're very similar but slight differences. So first of all, we'll go over the autos. So the first one, Piccolo Fusion Resolve, he is basically just a cantrip. His auto is similar to the Slug 1-drop. When it's played, draw a card. So there's multiple cards, as a fair few cards now that when it's played, it just draw a card. And usually because you want to get one of these on board because it's the better one out of the 2. And the other one is a Searcher, because like what you normally get with most of these archetypes is when you get little 1-drops like this, you only get one as a cantrip that just draws, and one as a Searcher that looks at the top few cards of your deck to look for them. And for Piccolo Ready to Fuse, his auto is when this card is played, you look up to 5 cards from top of your deck, out to 1 yellow Namekian card among them to your hand and shuffle your deck, and that can go for a whole range of cards from it, and even help towards finding a slug if you can't find off the lead or an open with it as well. So the aim of the game, trying to get the slug down is a really important thing because it's such a powerful card. And then you have the Union Absorbs. They both have different costs, so we'll go over each of them different at a time because they get certain targets and they have certain requirements. So the less easier to pull off one, or the one that has more restrictions, is the Piccolo Fusion Resolve. Here's his Union Absorb once per turn for 2 energy. If your leader card is a Namekian and you have 3 or more energy, so you have to wait until turn 3 for this one. And you choose 1 Namekian card from your hand or battle area and place it under this card as a cost. Remember, once you're awakened, you can take that card, can be taken from your leader instead. And the effect of it is to play up to 1 green Piccolo card with entry cost of 4 from your deck or hand on top of this card and shuffle your deck if you look through it. So this one specifically, it's a 4-cost green Piccolo, which we'll see what target, and it's the best target really from the deck. And play on top. You normally get a look for the deck, but if you get it from hand, you're normally going to be putting them back or using the ones in hand as fodder under it. And we play 4 copies of the target for this to make sure we've got targets to get from the deck. So never mind for that. And then the Piccolo Ready to Fuse, you don't really use this Union Absorb, but it does have the option to use it if needs come up. And his is for 1 energy instead, once per turn, for 1 energy. If your leader is just a Namekian card, and you choose 1 Namekian card from your hand or battle area and place it under this card as a cost, so no energy requirement, just 1 energy, having a Namekian leader and placing a Namekian from hand battle, or if your leader's awakened under the leader, under it. And then for this one, you get to play up to 1 yellow Piccolo with entry cost of 3 from your deck or hand and put on top of this card and shuffle your deck afterwards. So that's the main differences, that the Fusion Resolve requires 2 energy and you to be at 3 or more energy to use the effect, but gets a 4-cost green Piccolo on top of him. And the other one just requires 1 energy, doesn't have a energy restriction, and plays a yellow 3-cost Piccolo. And we do have targets for both of these ones because you can pull them off. You're mainly going to be pulling off the Piccolo Fusion Resolve because the target for that is very, very strong. Very good target, and it helps with the deck's consistency. And the other target is in there because we can play it, but also because it has a different, it has a nice little utility with the deck. We'll see in a sec. So first we'll start off with the target for the 3-drop yellow one. So the target for the Piccolo ready to fuse. And this one, as I said, is in there because you can pull off with this, and also has a never use for it. So it's a free drop 20k. So 20k base is not too bad for, especially for a free drop. You can evolve it for 2 yellow on top of Piccolo and L. You're never going to do that. That's too more. That's just as costly as just playing out the ready to fuse, getting a search, and then playing it straight from the deck. Never really use that. And it's got 2 nice little autos. The first one is mainly what you want to do if you want to bring this out for the first auto. You want to bring it out by using the 1-drop fuse into it. And that is when this card is played or attacks, not on turn either. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So if you want to clear the wide board, you can bring this out, kill one in rest mode when it is played, and then swing with it to KO another one that's in rest mode, which is quite nice. And then the other reason why we keep this, we only play 3 copies of this because it's also useful in hand, and that is if it's your opponent's turn. When this card is using the combo from your hand, choose up to one Namekian in your battle area and switch to active mode. So it means if you want to swing with it or you want to protect your slug a little bit easier and you don't really care about the shutting off draw effects, you can use this to combo, put in back in active mode so it's protected, it can't be attacked into unless they got certain effects. And so you can swing with the next card we're going to see and then restand it to protect it, because when they're in rest mode they're vulnerable to being actually attacked. So play 3 copies of this because it adds to the Namekian cards that fuel the leader's draw and search and stuff on both sides, and because it's just good, it's even a good charge as well. The next one is Piccolo Assimilated Ability. This is a very good card, one of those a very strong and expensive card at the time, many sets ago. It's just been a powerful card, and back when we could actually pay cards by their actually printed cost, some people might have even been around for that that olden time in the game. It was very strong, just because it had barrier and a very strong effect. So this is the yellow. This is the green 4 cost when you play on top of fusion resolves, and the main play you want to do on your turn 3. And it's a 20k with barrier, so that little protection. A lot of the things in here have a protection, which is quite nice. It's a pity that the 1-drops don't have protection as well, with barrier to protect him like the yellow Trunks deck does. But hey ho, Bandai just don't love Namekians as much as me and some of you do. So the activate battle, which is his ever effect, is once per turn. Bond 2, so just like Slug, needs a never copy with him on board, so him and Slug together, they both help each other with their Bond 2s. And it is choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 5 or less, and KO it. And if you KO the card, draw 1 card, so this is fantastic. Now it doesn't hit tokens because tokens do not have a cost, but it does hit anything else that's 5 or less, unless it's got barrier. And it even works on Z battle cards as well, because even though Z battle cards, where they're removed from the board, they're removed from the game, it just doesn't need to send them to a drop or anything, it just needs to KO them, which you'll be doing with the effect, and you get a draw, which is very nice. So it allows you to helpfully clear the board a little bit easier while also gaining cards, draw more cards, and this is why with the decking, come close to decking out, like I have a few times, come close to decking completely out, which is quite scary. And we play 4 copies of this because even if you draw into them, you want make sure you have a copy in your deck for Fusion Resolve. You can potentially drop more of these in a given turn, and even if you draw into them, they're just fodder for your lead to just put under to draw. So it's not much of an issue, and it's a very strong card. You want 4 copies of them, I say. So that is it for the Namekian stuff. So we play all these Namekians. We play how many? We play 4, 8, 12, 60. We play 22 Namekians, which are fuel it. So you won't often whiff on the front side of the lead because you only be on there for 2 turns, but you can sometimes, just where your deck just doesn't want you to draw. But that's fair enough. Even if you don't, you still going even. You're just not going plus. But that's still fair enough. Then we go into some generic good yellow cards for the deck. So first of all, we have the 4 Mecha Freezer Robotic Repulse. This is very easily put off to have this alive as early as possible in the deck, because there's some extra cards we'll see in a bit. This is great negate. I won't go over it in much depth because anybody who plays the game currently knows how strong this is, because it's just a negate that puts a floodgate effect where when it's dropped, it's reduced by 1 for every yellow extra card you have in your energy or drop. So it could be a 1-drop because it's got 1 specified cost. You still got to pay the specified cost even if you reduce the cost further. So for 2 extra cards in your drop and or energy, you can reduce down to 1 cost negate, and then negate the attack and then have a floodgate in the auto, which when it's played, your opponent can't attack anymore for the turn unless they switch a card to rest mode to do that, as long as the card attacking is not a unison. So play 4 copies of this because it's a great way to defend yourself, and it's a really nice card. And then we also have 3 copies of Switch Retaliation Caller. So yellow is one of the few colors that has a cheap and easily strong counter to help push through damage. So means when you get into the kill turn, you've got a very nice card to help push, and Caller is the one for yellow because it only costs 3. It doesn't cost 1 like Battering does, but that's the reason why Battering's banned. And this one just requires 3 yellow, and it just means if your leader's yellow, you need to get your counter skill using it. And unlike some counters, it hits any counter card, so counter play, counter attack, counter battle card attack, you name it, it stops it. And for a low cost of 3 is not too bad, since you can go into the later games, try to push through for a kill swing, and have to back it up and make sure it is not stopped. And it even draws a few as well, because it has a nice little auto when it's played, draw 1 card, and if you have 6 or more cards in rest mode, draw an extra never card, so potentially get a +2 off it as well. We play 3 copies because we've got space since I updated the secret rare in the deck that I was using. So we've got 3 of those instead of 2 now. So to make it more likely we can draw into it with the amount of draw power we have in this deck to push through our kill turns. And then next we have is 2 copies of Basil Fatal Rage. So this is a card that is flexible. You can change it for something different. I like it because it's just a cantrip that also can then be some nice little bit of aggressive pressure. And that is through its activate main. Because I said, cantrip also is like most of them, when you play it, draw a card. His permanent is basically unique, but before unique was created and implemented into the game. And his active main is quite nice. Just you need your opponent, if your opponent has 5 more cards in rest mode, you can trigger that to make it a 19k dual attacker until the start of your main phase. Nice little pressure for 1 energy. That's why I have 2 copies of him here. Then we go on to the super combos. So we're playing 3 copies of the Krillin super combo, because this is the way, well, the set of super combos that every color got in a set back in set 11, which is just like, well, power crap most super combos. Like you don't always run these super combos, but they're the default ones, unless you've got super combos that interact or work with your archetype a little bit better. Like green has just defending Father Paragus, which is a lot better, and ever decks might have super combos like how we saw with Red Piccolo when it used the Piccolo super combo, just because it interacts with the archetype a lot easier than these super combos were. Because not all decks go down to 4 life, not all decks. Yeah, some decks might have like sparking ones because they can get the cards in their drop a little bit easier. But if you're doing for a main base default ones, you're normally going for these that are super combos, because they allow you to put a card to the bottom of your deck from your hand, then draw brand new 2 cards. So it allows you to filter through your deck, fix your hand, and draw new cards, which is really, really nice. And the reason we're only playing 3 super combos whenever every deck plays 4 is because yellow as one of the best secret rares, and it's just this the main one you're going to run, because it's Piccolo and Son Gohan Newfound Might. Mainly because it's such a powerful secret rare for yellow. One of the best ones. It allows you to push through more damage because it's such a big super combo as well. Because like Basil, the more cards your opponent has in rest mode, the more likely you are to combo it for free. Because if your opponent has 5 cards in rest mode or more, you reduce the combo cost because one of its permanents, because it has 2. One is basically how ultimates work now, and the other one is for each card your opponent has in rest mode, you reduce the combo cost of each card in your hand by 1. So if your opponent's got 5 cards in rest mode, which is only going to want to pay energy to play things, so they can be tapping it down and making it a little cheaper on their turn or your turn. And it allows you to combo a 30k in 1 swing, which is huge, especially when finishing off. This is one great thing because it allows you to finish off quicker and then bring out this big ass beat stick after if they're not dead already. And one of the best things about this secret rare in this deck is that it's searchable with the leader and many things, because anything, like we've got some searching the 1-drops in your lead for searching yellow Namekians. This has Piccolo on it, which means it is a Namekian, which means you can search it. So having a searchable secret rare is very, very nice, and it's such a powerful one, especially since on play when it attacks, it draws a card and rests when your opponent's battle cards are unisons. And since our leader is a Piccolo card, you can play it at the end of a battle when you combo with it from your hand. So very, very good. So that's a secret rare and a super combo. So nice thing about this as well is with the secret rare being part of super combo, normally you have your 4 super combos and your secret rare slot, which is 5 slots, which can take up 5 slots of deck space. Having the secret rare also take up a super combo slot means you have more space than you would a normal deck to put in tech cards and stuff like that. And then we have next we have the card that is in most yellows. Some yellow cards decks are dropping, but still a very good card. And I'm still wondering why it's banned when some of the other colors like green and red had their versions of this card that came out in the same set banned into but this card isn't, because even though this card doesn't do as much as it used to do, it's still a very powerful card and annoying one, because unlike the other ones, it has barrier. So it's barrier unique, only have one on board, and if your leader's yellow and you would rest one of your opponent's cards with your skills, you get play it from your hand for free, just get it out. And that's not the annoying part. The annoying part is his second auto, which is once per turn. When your opponent plays a battle card by a skill, or they activate a counter skill, you get to choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards, which is the rest mode, which is annoying because both in your opponent's turn and your turn, you can trigger that. So if they negate in your turn using a counter or a counter player counter attack, you get to trigger this to wrestling to help towards some of your rest mode requirement cards. And during their turn, when they want to place it by a skill, you can then go ahead and rest it or rest something else. It's a very annoying card. We played 2 copies of it, so we want to try and see it to get on there, because having barrier on it and being played for free by just wrestling something, which is yellow's forte, you get to have this alive for the bonds on your Piccolo and your Lord Slug. And then I think this would be the last card. I think, yeah, it's the last battle card in the deck, which is our Overwhelm. And I go for Mirror Softness, guys, just because it's really nice. It's a double striker, 30k double striker. Overwhelms for 7 because we don't really care about a drop, because we only care about it for mecha, but then sometimes you can charge extra cards to make it so you don't have to worry about your drop. And it's just Overwhelm 7 for 1 energy. And that 1 energy is not that bad because of the auto, which is when you play this card, you draw a card, so you get as a cantrip, play it, draw a card, and be it a 30k double strike, and then you get to untap 1 of your energy at the start of your opponent's main phase. So it means if you don't pay 1 energy for this, and then at the start of your opponent's main phase, you get untap an energy, ready to use mecha or something else to defend yourself with. So even if you don't kill him using this card, you still get an energy back to defend yourself with. That's why I go for this, because at the very least it's a 0 cost 5k, so it's not dead in hand like some other ones could be, and it's a nice way to finish off double strike being a 30k, which is pretty strong. So that's all the battle cards. So it means you've got 5 slots for some extra cards, as you do want a fair few extra cards in yellow to help with mecha freeze and make it cheaper. And this deck's got some really nice, cheap and easy ones. The first one is my favourite one and one of the best ones, and why this deck is quite, well, not quite, but very consistent. And that is 3 copies of Assimilate. So this is a card that came out all the way back in the Clash of Fates theme booster, the third theme booster, Clash of Fates, and it is a searcher for most of your Namekian. So it's got a really nice effect in activate main, and it's a cost 0/1 as well, so you can play it for free. There's turn 1, especially, so for turn 1 you can activate this to help get you consistency, find Namekian, and make your mecha freeze cheaper. And it's just activate main, choose up to 1 green or yellow Namekian card with entry cost of 2 or less from your deck, add to your hand and shuffle your deck. So essentially, this allows you to search for that 1-drop Lord Slug if you need it and have the free drop, but only have 1 free drop. Or if you just want a Namekian to play or put in your lead, you can search for Piccolo, Fusion Resolve, or Piccolo Ready Fuse. So you have a good 11 targets off this. And at the very least, if you have multiples in hand, you can charge 1 and use the other one to get consistency off, and then you have 2 straight away for mecha both. So these are a very good way to help get mecha down to 1 cost very easily, very quickly, as soon as possible, and help keep with the deck's consistency. Then we have another 0 cost extra card, being Wait on 1 Soldiers. Now this is got this at free because it can be used not too bad defensively, but it's more your like Champa the deck. Like a lot of decks might have a copy of Champa or their version of Champa to have like a way to finish with double strike on your leader swing. So you go for a big leader swing that's hard to interact with and hard to stop once it's gone through, and push through 2 damage instead of 1. This is a very nice card to do that, and it's the special one for Piccolo and, well, Namekians in general, and also adds to help mecha as well as the yellow by being an extra card you can charge or having drop, and work well in a different way. So this is a 0 cost extra card, so another one you can play without paying energy. It's got an activate battle, which if it's your opponent's turn, you can choose up to 1 Namekian card in your battle area, switch it to active mode, and then it gets 1k power for the battle. So if you want, you can always restand a Namekian. So like, as I said before, like we did with Piccolo Nails Might, if you've played and swung with Piccolo similar ability and your opponent's trying to swing into it and you want to protect it, make it harder to swing into, then you can use this, switch to active mode, and give it 10k power for that battle to help defend out a little bit easier on 20 swing, and have it harder to attack with. But that's not the best part. The best part is the other part, which is an activate battle skill, which requires 1 yellow, and if it's your turn, you choose up to one of your Namekian cards for each Namekian card underneath it. It gets 5k power up to a maximum of 15k, and double strike for the battle. Now remember, with your lead, you're stocking up card Namekians underneath it to power yourself up. So you swinging, put a Namekian in it, either drawing 1 and searching, or drawing 2, depending which side you're on, and you put more and more cards. And once you get up to 3 cards under your leader, this makes it so your leader, makes it a stronger champer, this card then, once you've got 3 underneath it, because it then gives your leader, if you use it on that swing, an extra 15k power and double strike for the battle. And you can even use it on your secret rare, because your secret rare is a Namekian. You don't have to have cards underneath it to get, power is optional. You can just use it to give double strike. It might even give power, it might just give double strike. But you can always swing with the secret rare and then use this just to give it double strike. No power, but then double strike to help finish off as well with a secret rare swing. And it's just very nice. And where you're putting cards underneath your Piccolo summon ability to trigger Fusion Resolve, you can even swing with the Piccolo summon ability. It has barriers, so it's hard to interact with. And if you brought out Fusion Resolve, you could be grabbing a Namekian under your lead to put underneath it. So you have the Piccolo 1 drop, another Namekian you put underneath it, and then Piccolo on top of it to have 2 underneath it, at least make it a 10k double strike on that Piccolo as well. So it's the main way to finish, and we have it at 3 because when I had it at 2, sometimes I find it early and want to charge it because I don't want to use any other cards in my hand to charge, and then I have to look through my whole deck if it's not in my life to find the last copy. So I put the 3 because at the very least it's charged early and I know there's more copies to try and find it a little bit easier than if I just had 2. Then we got Power Super Saiyan. It's very simple to go over. It's limited for a reason because it's so powerful, be able to rest things for free once you've just got 1 yellow energy untapped, and or be using the negate. And if you use it to rest something, you at least get a draw, an easy way to trigger Poutine or help make Basil and your secret rare cheaper. Not much to more say about that. Then we got next one, we got 2 copies of Final Flash. Every deck needs barrier removal, but yellow hasn't got the best barrier removal, so instead we got Barrier Ignorance, and that helps with this card. And since we're not playing in Unison, this can be used on every single battle card in it, and it just allows you to add, for 1 energy, extra 15k power to any swing offensively or defensively. We'll also be able to choose one battle card on your opponent's board, and negate its skills through barrier. So if you're worried about your opponent swinging with triple strike or anything like that, yellow has that nice little thing of just going negative skills, not worry about the triple strike, take the 1 damage or combo out of it a little bit easier. So we have 2 copies of that because it still costs 1, and like most of these cards cost quite cheap, 1 or for free. So we keep it at 2 because at least that way we've got 2 in there, and this is one of the extra cards I'm not likely to charge because you have Simulate and then Weight on 1 shoulders to charge and use to make Mecha cheaper. And that brings us to the last extra card in the deck, and that is our token negates, the cards that the extra cards that almost every deck is running because it's such a great one. We used to have the sparking ones back from set 5, but those have been crapped out and been replaced mainly apart from some of the ones depending on the meta, like blue is always going to keep deep magic, red sometimes uses after image, green sometimes uses shocking netfall, but barely ever are you going to use your time magic for yellow. So we've got Frieza army reinforcements, especially with given your leader's awakening. When you awaken down to 5, this makes it aligned as soon as possible to use straight away as soon as you're awakened. Just negate and give a token, defend 2 attacks, and then access to your as well your super combo. So it's the perfect deck to run it in. And we run we run 3 copies of them because we're gonna have 5 life. So as long as we don't take too many damage, if we take damage out, go down to 4. If we don't have this, we still will have at least 3 uses of this to help defend ourselves a little bit easier. Because yellow can, especially with mecha, with things with how yellow is defensively, you can survive quite easily just on the yellow cards alone. And that is the list. So that is the list I use, especially if you looked at the webcam locals results from the last Friday. This is the deck I used to go 4-0, and if you want to watch the matches, check out the previous video to see how it went. But that's the main list. I do also have the rest of it, the side and, well, the side I was using and the Z deck. So when it comes to Z deck, I can't do the content creator view for these parts. I don't know if that's something Deck Planet would want to do. But as if I put it like this, so it's more within range. So you can see all the cards. So we got for the Z deck, got 2 Oolong because I because it's quite cheap and quite useful. And if you don't finish off with using this as a last swing, I feel like even though it's got unique, they might try to get rid of it because they want to leave this lying around to be dropped again. So 2 copies is quite good because it only costs 2 Z energy and 1 actual energy, so it's not too bad. Just be able to copy anything on the board and have the same power. It's very strong. I did have 2 copies of SSB Vegeta. It's running impossible because sometimes we might want users to get down from 5 to 4 if you don't have your token negate. I wouldn't put this down to 1. I just didn't have. I can't remember. I was trying to get something else for the Z deck, but I didn't have it at the time, so I just put this up to 2 because I only had 2 long on me. So and the limited number on the other one. So we got the this down to 1 just as a way to actually get yourself down to 4 if you really need to get down to 4 for your super combos, your chrono ones, to have that alive. And then we've got Sun Gohan facing new foes because I was thinking about teching in the side the 8-drop to go on top of this, but this can just come down as if needed to come out and be a 15k dual attack if you ever need. That's not from your hand. Not the greatest option, but it's still an option. And then 2 copies of SSB Son Goku Evolved Defender. Another barrier card, especially has Deflect, 2 keyword skills that should be on the same card together. And this is a nice card in that with barrier it can help stay around with Slug and Assimilated to help keep their bond alive, and also give you a very useful effect and be able to lock down when your opponent's cards from attacking next turn, mainly their leaders. It's mainly what you're going to go for, their leader. Because especially with Slugger boarding this and then locking a leader, they're going to have less draws in their next turn. And then having it as a nice way, after swing of it, being at 25 base, being a sweet spot 25, allowing you to potentially rest anything you might potentially want at the cost of your Z energy. So I might up this. I think I might up this to 3, and then take out the second SSB for GX. I can't remember what the other card I was going to put in is, but that's normally with a Z deck. Yeah, it's got some good ones. It's got not too many generic ones, more than say black or green and stuff. But I think I might have been tempted to put in one of the slug searcher one that helps you find a slug, because that would be helpful. Just another way to make sure you can find a slug package, drop that as early as possible, and have it as a defender blocker as well. So that's it for the Z deck. Then with the side deck, 2 copies of Chi-Chi, 2 copies of Trunks, because as you know, I have a big hatred for blue. So then we have my blue hate if it's not main decided, and we got 2 Chi-Chi to hate on D Magic and 2 Trunks to hate on the not allow them to get the full benefit from the Kaioken Goku secret rare and other effects that they might untap on their turn. So you're just handy, and it's just cantrips as well, so you're not losing anything for playing them. Easy enough to switch in with Basil. Just take Basil out for one of these 2, or one of each if you feel like you need one of each. And then we've got 1 Son Gohan and Videl power couple. So this is quite nice because it helps take out things that have a 5k in barrier by just paying 1 yellow to discard from your hand as long as you use yellow, to -2 things through barrier by 5k. And it's very nice, especially might up this to 2, because if you're going against AOD, and AOD is a bit more popular, you draw a lot through, not just through your leader, but outside your leader as well. So having this to hit their AOD Barbody, get it off the board and make their things more expensive is quite nice, and any other things you might come up with as well. Then you have 1 copy of Jiren for when we get longer matchups and people trying to go for turn inside. Have this to just go, nope, you're not affecting my hand, so lose your hand. I'll keep my quite large, huge hand, also drawing and defend the turn a little bit easier, because normally you're going to be managed on board, but just because they drop that to try and finish you off, you can have this way to have a little bit easy time against it. Then I've got 2 copies of Piccolo Demonic Transformation. This is a nice little counterplay that's searchable with the lead, because it's with the lead and most of the archetype, because it's a yellow Namekian. It has a nice little thing where if your leader is yellow for this counterplay, you get the played card, as long as it's an energy cost of 4 or less, comes in with its skills negated for the turn. So this doesn't affect just battle cards, it affects Unison as well. So if you're going against a deck and they're bringing out a Unison that's they're paying 4 or less for, then you get to stop that from coming in with its effects, make it come in with effects negated, and then just pummel into it and have a 15k attacker as well. And it's got a nice little permanent where it's not 3 costs, it's the cost reduced by 1 during your opponent's turn, making it a 2 cost counter, which is not too bad. And similarly, I've got 2 copies of Hellfire 17, the Neutralizer. This is because its effect is not in the counterplay, it's in the auto, because its counterplay is just simply play this card, and its effect permanent is the same as the Piccolo, which in your opponent's turn is reduced by 1, so it's a 2 cost rather than a 3 cost. And it is also quite nice if I just bring it up here. It's just when you play it, or when it's placed in the dropper from your battler by a skill, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and you get skills for duration of turn. And what I found with red, if they get out their secret rare, to just send all your board to the drop, you lose all that hard work you put in to set up your board by them just drawing into a secret rare and just clearing it. So having Cell Fire 17, the neutralizer, you can bring this out and you get effect because it's in the active main, so you still get the -5k on your lead from the effect to play it, but then its effects negated, so you can't use the active main to clear your board, and in your turn you can simply, as yellow does, go rest it, bring out 3-drop Piccolo and pop it so it's then removed from the game and gone for good. So a little bit helpful. And then also if you get up against any other big boss cards or any cards that have deflect but don't have barrier to protect themselves, because no boss card should have barrier and deflect, you can have this to get around the deflect to then negate the skills on it and not worry as much about their big boss. So it's a nice one. We got one copy of that because you can draw enough into it, but you can have it to 2 if you want to change anything around it. Then we got 2 copies of Son Goku Absolute Annihilation. A stupid card. It's got it's a good thing it's got unique, but it's also got deflect and barrier, so 2 skills that should be on it, but it's on this card. And a permanent where if we bring it up, if your leader card is yellow, your opponent can't activate extra cards unless they switch one of their energy to rest mode. This is very nice against if you saw when I play against Mill, and is also just good against any extra deck heavy strategies. Just making it so they got an extra cost to their one extra cost to their extra cards. And strip it down. It does cost 3 yellow, but then with barrier and deflect, it's not going to be stopped from coming in and a bit hard to interact with, and put a massive cramp. Even if it costs 3, it's worth it, and because it puts a huge cramp on their ability to play if they focus on extra cards. And then coming up to the last battle card, we got Dark Broly Partners Berserker and Overwhelm switch in. So if you feel like the Overwhelm mirror is not going to be useful, or you need a bit more removal, you can always switch out the mirror if you don't want it, if you feel like you don't need the Overwhelm for a finisher, but you need it for a bit of removal. You can switch out mirror for Dark Broly Heartless Berserker because it just comes in Overwhelm 6, so a little bit less. It might not have combo power because it's a 0 cost 0, but it's least removal. When it's played, you warp one of your opponent's battle cards, which is nice. If you want a bit of a switch up, both have the same power, but both have different utility. So if you feel like you need for a matchup removal over trying to finish with the Overwhelm, you can switch out Dark Broly. Or if you feel like you just need a cheaper Overwhelm, or you just need, or you just want an Overwhelm that comes in without paying energy, switch into Dark Broly Heart Berserker. I normally do this with most of my decks. I'll have a different unison in the side to switch up to change the unison use, because there are some good unisons still generically, even though most of the best generic ones got banned. There's still some good ones to switch between that could be useful. Then we've got 2 copies of Tyrannical Blow, just a nice little counter play for when your opponent brings in any floodgates to make it like if you don't have Caller, or you want something cheaper than Caller to help deal with floodgates, especially ones that have the floodgate in their auto. Then you have Tyrannical Blow to help stop that, and he even has a little benefit of shutting off the effects of your opponent's unison if you use it on your opponent's turn as well, to just make use of that. So if your opponent's got Boo Unison and they play a floodgate, you can floodgate as long as it's 3 or less, and then negate the effects on Boo Unison, so it can bottom deck a card with -1 or block, which is nice, little nice effect we got there. And then I've got extra in the deck, just an extra 1 copy of Realm of the Gods Black Kamehameha, just because it's useful as removal. Just if your leader is yellow, you choose one of your cards gets 10k power for the battle, so it's at least one cost 10k. And you get 1 or 2 effects, and on your turn you can use it as removal. Decay when your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, decay it if you don't want to pay more. Like this is a cheaper version of the yellow Piccolo, because the Piccolo costs at least 2, or this just costs 1. And even this one could be used defensively as well, where during your opponent's turn you draw a card and tap 2 things to your opponent's battle cards in rest mode. So this option, if you need to defend a little bit easier, you can slide this in and potentially switch out one of these extra cards. So you've got many options. And that is it for the deck. So thank you for watching. I hope this is useful and you liked the video. Like the list and like the way I did it. And if you did, remember to feel free to drop a like, comment if there's anything you got questions about or any suggestions you have for this. And also subscribe to the channel to help keep up to date with my videos like this and help me get to my goal of 1,000 subs to be a Dragon Ball guy. So once again, thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye for now.